Oyo, and of course this time around it's happened in Abuja. Now, there are so many things that Nigerians are saying about this development. Some are saying there is conspiracies somewhere. Don't forget that over 3,000 inmates escaped across the country, and Nigeria is in search of those ones. Just last week, the Minister of Interior appealed to correctional facilities across the country to do everything humanly possible to have these ones back. But where are they? Now you have this number. Some are saying over 1,000 inmates escaped in Kuje prison in Abuja. The whereabouts of some popular faces in that particular facility is still unknown. What exactly are we dealing with? There's so many questions that Nigerians are asking. Yesterday, bandits attacked the convoy, or should we call them terrorists, attacked the convoy of President Muhammad Buhari, though the advanced convoy as it were. But that cannot spell a good omen for Nigerians. So Nigerians are scared, Nigerians are so fearful, they are asking questions, they wish that their questions will be answered. But of course, this evening we'll attempt to analyze some of these issues and maybe in the process provide an answer to some of these questions that have been asked. Mr. Sumbo Badeworld is a security analyst. Thank you so much for your time on the program.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
So, can you help make a sense out of all of this that is going on? Is the situation this bad that Nigeria as a country will fold its arms and watch all of these happen to it?
It only means one thing, that so-called commander-in-chief is not commanding anything.
It's about the president?
It's about the president. You know, one of the earlier programs I featured on here, I think we mentioned it, that when criminality goes unpunished, it's going to fester and it will begin to graduate from one level to another. That is what has brought us to this level. When the first prison was broken, the second one, the third one, and the comptroller keeps his job, the Minister of Interior keeps his job, of course, the criminals will know that, yes, anything that they do, nothing would happen. But if heads have rolled, there would have been some adjustments. It would have served as deterrent to those who are officers. Do they want to tell us that, okay, maybe our prisons are not having enough personnel to really man them? Because I can't remember the last time that even the prison service had any form of recruitment other than the usual underground recruitment that you see. Earlier this year, I was passing through the state command in Oyo State. I saw some group of guys wearing the white shirt and shirts, indicating that they are undergoing some training as fresh intake. How they got into the system, we don't know.
No advertisement.
No advertisement. So when you recruit into the security outfit of a country using political sentiments, then you don't expect them to do the job the normal way.
Is Nigeria overwhelmed?
Nigeria is overwhelmed. We are in serious need of help now. Where that help will come from is where we don't know, because the government seems to be clueless. You can imagine the series of attacks that happened within the last 2 days, and the presidency is not bothered. The man would even leave the house burning and even go abroad for one useless meeting. That's whatever investment or whatever benefit that you want to bring. The situation at home is what will determine whether or not those things will come. Nobody wants to put his money in an unsecured environment. That is what Nigeria has become. You cannot travel even from Lagos to Ibadan at a certain part of the day. There are some routes in Nigeria that you can't even go in broad daylight. So all these things they are serious problems. And you see the politicians, the only thing that concerns them is the election coming, which is really absurd.
And some Nigerians have really been asking whether there will be election come 2023.
Of course, with the way things are going, even those of us who never really liked the idea are beginning to have a rethink, because election can only take place in a peaceful environment. You understand? Flashback to 2015. when Boko Haram was holding 14 local governments in the country. Before election could take place in Borno State, it has to be postponed by 6 weeks. And you now mobilize security into that place to ensure that you clean the environment before elections could hold. Now, 2023 is not only an election year, it's also a year that the population census will take place. Now, election is something that, okay, you people will come out of their houses to a particular designated polling unit. But for census, people will stay in their houses, and you expect the census official, advert is on already placed for 1 million adult staff to be recruited for that same census that we are not sure will hold, because it's supposed to come immediately after the election. It must not, you must conduct census either between January and March or late in the year, October to December. Why? You can't conduct it in the rainy season because of the terrain of some villages that will not be accessible during the rainy period. So, when all these things are there and the security situation is getting this deteriorating, you begin to ask questions. Is the government really serious? And yet, you have the past 3 budgets that we have, defense has been the top priority.
At the detriment of others.
At the detriment of others. And yet, we are not seeing any results.
Now, some Nigerians expected that the president, the presidency, those in government will be doing more than they are doing presently. But they are disappointed, they are dejected.
Of course. You and I are part of those Nigerians. Are you not disappointed? Am I not? We are not only disappointed, we are sad. And it's because we look at countries that are not even supposed to be compared to Nigerians making way, and Nigeria is still struggling. I can't remember the year that Professor Saga, authored the Triple Giant. That was way back. I don't know how are we still even the giants? We are not even the triple dwarf. That's the best phrase that we can use to qualify Nigeria now, because we are not making any significant progress. Some people are hell-bent on bringing this nation down. And if it's us going separate ways that would solve the problem, then our leaders should begin to look in that direction. Because what's the essence of forcing a union that is not working on each other?
This union is not working.
If it is working, how come we are not making progress?
The president, let me say, escaped death by a whisker. He could have been in that convoy, but thankfully he was not.
You know, somebody said he wished he was there and his bodyguard or himself was shot. Can you imagine that coming from a citizen? It's because they are so disappointed. No, the level of disillusionment
isn't
there.
That politics at play?
This person in question is an ordinary citizen. He's not a politician.
Because you get to hear that when people sound that way, they can only be.
That would be bad politics for politicians. No politician will make such a statement. But an average Nigerians are wishing the president was involved in that convoy, that he will have a feel of what Nigerians and average Nigerians are going through. Over the weekend, a cousin to a very close friend of mine was kidnapped, a reverend father in Edo State, or in between Hauchi and Benin. Well, thankfully they've been released earlier this morning, or late in the night this morning. But what she didn't tell me is how much was involved in the process of release. Do you understand that this is something that happens on a daily basis? I knew of a family friend that the auntie was kidnapped along Ijebu-Ode Road in December 5th to be precise. 5 million naira was paid as ransom. The family had to run helter-skelter to get that money. And of course there is intel that all the forests are being occupied by, they will say they are foreigners, some will say they are herders. As far as we are concerned, they are terrorists, because you don't rear cattle with guns. You only rear cattle with sticks. And these ones are AK-47 wielding herdsmen. That means they are no longer herdsmen, but they are what? They are terrorists. So that's the situation that we have. And you can imagine all these forest reserve that the first Republican leaders had set up and the colonial government we still maintain them. Now, these forests that were regional based they are now spread across different states. They are now you have like the J4. J4 is having 4 states inside. Oyo, Ogun, Osun, and Ondo state inside one forest. They all meet in that same forest. And this same forest is the same forest that S-men have occupied. Talk about Sambisa, which is as big as even Oyo state or bigger. Cutting across 3 states of the Federation, including 3 other different countries. Now, when you have territories that are as large as that, and there's no economic activity taking place in them, they are just there. That means you have prepared a breeding ground for criminality. And that is why all this, and you have some roads passing through some of these forests. You know, most Nigerians don't know that the highway they pass, those bushes that we see on the left and right, are actually some of these reserves that these people are occupying. And it's on those kind of roads that these people carry out their kidnap, carry out their terror attack. So these are things that, and of course the security agents cannot tell us that they are not aware of the geography of all this.
That's exactly the next question. Imagine a situation where Nigerians are already asking whether we really have the military in this country. Oh, you remember the exploits of Nigerian military in Ecomog. You remember, in Uganda, some of these countries we have, carried out exploits. We've shown to the world that Nigeria has the military that can. What exactly is happening now?
That's why I said there is huge conspiracy.
Between who and who?
Within the echelon of the military. As well as, look at the way and manner the former chief of army staff died. That's enough controversy. The plane crashed. Eyewitness said they saw people parachuting from the same plane before it crashed down. And of course, the military classified the information, claiming that that was false account. But of course, those that saw the thing, their eyes were not paining them. They know what they saw. You understand what I'm saying? And when things like that happen, and you don't see any answer, you don't know answer to the questions that will greet such events, you begin to ask. You've asked series of high-ranking officers being ambushed and killed by these terrorists because somebody within the rank leaked the intel about their itinerary, that they will pass that route along at that point in time. So all these things cannot happen without in-house persons being involved in the whole thing. Then the politicians too. The other day, the governor of Zamfara was alleging that some high-profile people, and when they will now do their usual esprit de corps, you came to the press to say you have met with the president that some high-profile people, the Minister of Information said it severally. Give us the list of these people. Let Nigerians know who their enemies are. If the security men cannot handle them, of course, these people live within our midst. Nigerians will know how to go after them by themselves. So if they are really our problem, we know how to deal with them because they don't exist in isolation and they are not invisible. So these are things that is happening in this country, and you begin to wonder whether we have a leader in place. Whether, and I used to say that the main problem, like the Chinese proverb, that once the head is not correct, don't expect much from the body.
That's the situation.
That is the situation now.
And the president plans to travel outside this country, and some are already fought in it. But we're talking of a scheduled journey.
There's nothing like a scheduled journey that cannot be postponed or even cancelled. Are you saying that journey is more important than the life of your citizen? You swore to protect the integrity of the country, to protect the security of lives and property of your citizen. Now these are threatened by some miscreants that we call foreigners, terrorizing the environment, and the only thing that interests you is that journey you want to embark on. That is bad leadership. There's no other way we can put it other than to call it what it is. It is bad leadership.
So for what cause or purpose do you think all of these are happening?
That I cannot tell you here. But I know some people have built an economy around it within the military and within the political class. And of course, some community heads cannot be exonerated because these people they are not invisible. They live amongst us. Than if people that are hosting them are not saying anything. Look at the way, though it was criticized then, but people are now saying that is the approach that this president ought to have used all along. When some young guys were allowed their exuberance to get into them and attack some soldier in Bayelsa State, OD precisely, what happened? The former president ordered a crackdown on that place. And they went there and leveled the place. But they didn't just go and start leveling the whole place. They had issued that, come on, produce these people or else there will be consequences. And once they tried to shield them, the whole place was leveled. Now, that threat was neutralized using the military term now. At that time, it would have aggravated to something else. Now, when these other ones were at latent stage, if decisive actions had been taken, they would have been neutralized long before now. I wouldn't find ourselves in this mess. And why can't this president be bold enough to sack his appointees that are giving the government embarrassment?
You find that strange?
It is very strange. Just because the British Prime Minister is misbehaving, 8 cabinet members resigned just yesterday. They will not resign, sack them. The only time they will resign is even when they are contesting political office. They still refuse to resign until he told them to go and do so. That's the country we have. That means they are waiting for you to give them the marching orders. I want your resignation on my table.
Okay, so
when you keep doing that, you are passing a message across to others who would want to follow that line that come. You do that, your head will roll.
So, at this juncture, Nigerians are so scared. Many people cannot even go out again. Those who go out don't have hope of retaining alive. The situation has degenerated to that extent. The call for self-defense is one that was widely condemned by many people, though some believe it's the way to go. In 1-2 sentences, what do you think should be done? Is this self-defense one approach that you would, advise Nigerians to embrace? What do you think the government should be doing differently?
Self-defense is not going to work in terms of individual or families defending themselves. It requires communal effort, a vigilante approach. That's what would work, because there's no way if the community is cooperating. The moment a stranger enters, they are aware, they know themselves, they will raise an alarm. All these things are festering because people don't raise alarm on time. They don't call for help on time. And the security agencies would always use that as an excuse. The governors need to do more. They need to invest their security votes in vigilante. You can imagine
Not wait on the
vigilante group in Oyo State and the local hunters has been calling on this government to empower them for the past 3 years. They have not done so. They would rather recruit more Amotekun that cannot do the job effectively because they are not familiar with this environment.
So you prefer vigilante?
I prefer
going into the bushes.
They need to work. There must be all hands must be on deck. You can't just pick one outfit and fund the outfit, especially the ones that are not familiar with the terrain, and you expect them to go and do the job effectively. They would not. I told you, it was on another platform that I said when they asked Amotekun Corps to be applying online, I said we are getting it wrong. I even said at some point that they are not needed in the city centers. They are supposed to be in the bushes. Is it Alaga or one of the villages in Okeoguntu? About 30 people were attacked by herders. They were on their way to a meeting and they were ambushed, macheted, and all of them they are in the hospital as we speak. In the same Oyo State, and nothing is being said by the state government. They would rather deny it as a rumor of the social media. So these are things that is going wrong. You don't play politics with human life. You don't play politics with security. These are things that our government at all levels now, all this security issue, do you know they are also a byproduct of the moribund state of our local government system? Do you know? Because the local government will meet with the traditional rulers, meet with these hunters, empower them because it's a local base. But when they don't have funds required to carry out to be effective, because the funds have been taken by the state government to do whatever they like, and only give stipend to them to pay salaries. and even for them to do, before they even put benchmark. Can you imagine? The governors even push benchmark as to the minimum amount of projects or the maximum that the local government chairman can implement. That is how bad the situation of things is. And they don't see it from that light. We always look at the presidency. Fair, yes, the man has his own problem, he has his own fault, but all crimes are local. And so we need to combat it using the local approach.
Mr. Asumba Badejoko, I must say a big thank you to you for your time. It's always interesting talking to you. We pray that some of these suggestions that you've brought to the table today will be, made use by those in the aims of affairs in this country. But the truth of the matter is the Nigerians are crying. Nigerians are in dire need of solution. May that solution come quicker than expected. I'm Uluwapo Moride. See you next time.